Hello and welcome into this breakdown video. For this week's breakdown video, we're going to talk about deficits and how you can use them in your training and some common misconceptions about using deficits. So let's jump into this breakdown video. Make a person adapt to a certain position or to make them feel comfortable in that position. So first of all, what is a deficit? A deficit is simply increasing the range of motion. As an example, instead of doing push-ups to the floor, you would get plates and then get your chest lower to the floor. So it enables us to get more range of motion inside the movement. So why would you use a deficit? It can have multiple reasons. The most common reason, of course, is to create progressive overload. So to make the exercise slightly more difficult than performed previously. And then inside progressive overload, you can also have various reasons as to why you would use a deficit. So it is believed that when you move at a greater range of motion, that you will also activate more muscles. And whether or not that is true, for CrossFit, it can be really helpful to move through big ranges of motion with, for instance, an exercise like a squat clean, where you need to catch the bar really low in that bottom position and then stand back up. It's really helpful to be able to go through that big range of motion. Or with, for instance, a ring muscle up, where you go up onto the rings and you need to catch yourself in a really deep dip position. If that's a position where you haven't spent a lot of time in, then it will be pretty difficult to dip out of that position or to squat out of that deep squat clean position. So that's one reason where deficits would have a place to make a person adapt to a certain position or to make them feel comfortable in that position. Deficits are also really helpful if you need to train via a minimalistic approach. So for instance, if you're on vacation, if you don't have a lot of equipment whatsoever, if you don't have the ability to just simply get more weight on the bar or to use a weight vest to make a certain body weight exercise harder, increasing the range of motion can be a really great way to still get that progressive overload in and to still make the exercise slightly harder. Now, one way deficits can also be really helpful is to make a certain exercise feel easier. So for instance, with the handstand push-up, if we always perform handstand push-up with a big range of motion and with multiple plates, so a big deficit, and now we need to do regular handstand push-ups, so whereas the head and the hand are on the same level, most of the times it would feel way easier than with the deficit. So it's a great way to manipulate that feeling. Now, one important thing that you need to take into consideration when doing deficits is that not every individual has enough mobility to actually increase that range of motion. So what oftentimes happens with individuals that are not mobile enough, so they are already at the end of their range of motion during a movement, and now they want to add on more range of motion by increasing that deficit, is that they will compensate for the lack of mobility inside specific areas. So now the muscle that should be trained is not being activated, and we build on these compensations, which can actually harm us. So that's one thing that you need to be really careful with when doing deficits, is you need to take into consideration whether or not you have enough mobility to support that range of motion. And guys, that's it for this week's breakdown video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you liked it, please subscribe on the channel, like the video, and I hope to see you next time with another breakdown video.